Hey everybody, welcome to another Rackspace Office Hours live stream. We're broadcasting live from Rackspace, the #1 managed cloud company. My name's Alan Bush, and we are going to be talking a little bit about ChatOps today. Now, I'm not just going to be talking about this on my own because I don't know anything about it. So we invited in a special couple of guests to help us out with it. First off, let's introduce Drew Cox, our regular co-host on this. He is coming in from his home studio. Drew, how you doing?
Hello. Hello, I'm doing very well. Less regular than has been my want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're glad to have you back here in the United States. You were in Canada for a little while, so it's glad to have you back with us. Yeah, it's good, and I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about ChatOps, and I'm sure you are as well.
Absolutely, always curious.
Yeah, exactly. Curiosity is a great trait around here. Drew and I don't know enough about ChatOps, so we brought in somebody else to help us. And speaking of being out of the United States, we've got Martin Smith joining us from Spain. What part of Spain?
I'm actually in Valencia today. It's good to be here. It's a couple hours later, but it's beautiful and light out and near the beach. And
Awesome. Well, Valencia is one of my favorite Decemberist songs, so I'm hoping.
Favorite oranges.
There we go.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's a great song. It's a great album, actually. The Crane Wife.
It's a good orange, also.
You can probably get the oranges a little bit easier than the album there in Spain. But no, it's great to have everybody here. Martin, you've been on the show a whole bunch of times, and I love it when you're on because it's always a learning opportunity for me. So super glad to have you on. Just wanted to say hey to everybody that's watching us live. So we're live streaming on YouTube and on Facebook and on Periscope. So hey, everybody that's watching live. We want this to be as interactive as possible. We've got a couple of audience questions that we're going to be asking. We have the ability to capture comments from Facebook, from Periscope, and from YouTube as well. So drop us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. But Martin, let's hear a little bit about you real quick. Let's talk about what you do here at Rackspace, and don't be humble. Let's tell us about your new promotion to principal engineer.
Yeah, so actually that happened really recently. But yes, I've been a Racker for 2.5 years. I was worked a lot on the DevOps automation service. Recently made principal engineer, and I get to work on Fanatical support for AWS. That's kind of a new Rackspace thing,
yeah.
But it's really interesting, really fun. I get to help our support floor solve engineering problems to make their lives easier, and I get to work on professional services engagements on top of Fanatical support for AWS. So that's what I'm up to these days.
Great. Well, great. It's Fanatical support for AWS is one of the things that we've had you on most to talk about, and ChatOps is one of the ways that you're helping our customers in that service level, right?
That's right, actually, and both as far as support and for professional services, ChatOps can do a lot for us because it cuts down that paste in a ticket, write a response, wait for somebody to see the ticket. It's a much more immediate, rewarding thing for both support engineers and customers because it's so much faster turnaround.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually helping to facilitate you being not in the States, right? So, I mean, just the fact that you're able to help the customers through a chat window is facilitating that, right?
That's right. I've been in South America helping a U.S. customer, but talking to their engineers in the Czech Republic all in a day. So yeah, it definitely cuts down on the distance.
Great. That's good. That's good. And then, hey, real quick about the principal engineer. That's also part of the technical career track, right? So that's one of the things that Rackspace does that's really cool. And I really want to mention that because it allows. I'll let you talk a little bit about it. I think it's something really neat to highlight, though.
Yeah, it's a really cool program. TCT stands for Technical Career Track, and it kind of is two-edged. I think one part of it is to give engineers that want to make a career out of being technical and also speak at conferences, events, really like the very highest levels of being engaged technically at Rackspace without having to become a people manager. So it's a career track where you can still do the technical contributions you want and sort of move up in your career. And then the other cool thing about it is that it's kind of like a SWAT team for things that the company wants to execute on. We're all in different areas in the company. So when there's a particularly hard problem, we can kind of get together and all do it together and maybe solve something that a slower, more bureaucratic company couldn't execute on quite as easily.
Yeah, it's great. It's one of the things that we do here at Rackspace that I think really helps us to differentiate, helps us to keep some of our more technical rackers engaged and give them that career path along the way. So, definitely glad that you're a part of it. So, cool. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about ChatOps. Drew, do you know anything about ChatOps? What do you know about ChatOps?
Seeing as I'm not the expert here, I know that Martin has already kind of covered a couple of the values, and really it's a space in which you can collaborate in real time, gather a lot of information into one place. But I feel like there's a lot of the definitions that get thrown around and assumed, and so I'd like Martin to really define what we're going to talk about as ChatOps today, at least what his definition would be, because I'm sure there are plenty of dark corners that somebody might refer to as ChatOps. But for the sake of this discussion, let's go ahead and get an agreed upon definition.
Yeah, let's do that. And I want to ask anybody that's watching live, if you're watching live, go ahead and tweet us or share on Facebook your definition of ChatOps. If you're using it at work, if you're using it with other projects that you're on, go ahead and share that with us. We'd love to hear those and kind of read some of those off as we go along. But Martin, let's hear it. What is ChatOps?
Yeah, so I think that ChatOps is taking things you probably already do and bringing them into a chat room. So operations for IT is often sort of a loner activity, right? You log into a server, you run some commands, you get some output, and then at the very end of that, you might like tell all your teammates what happened. So ChatOps is taking that kind of activity and bringing it into a chat room, whether it's Slack or HipChat or whatever your flavor is that you or your company uses. It brings that activity into a collaborative environment where a lot of things happen when everyone can sort of work together running commands, for instance, or seeing the output of some activity or even an outage, just all the things you would do in normal operations, but in a sort of live stream of chat. So that would be my main definition, and whatever operations means to you, it's bringing that into chat. So it means different things to different people, but chat is the thing that I think takes it to the next level.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it's kind of a simple definition, right? We're going to smash these two words together and make another word, make a brand new word, ChatOps. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And it's like coined by GitHub, I think is probably where we heard it first, but it can apply to operations, but you also have people doing that with development, with testing. You think about in the 90s, things like in software engineering, like pair programming. This was kind of like pair programming to the next level, and for sysadmins and operations people too.
Got it. Well, that's good stuff. All right, so let's. We kind of got a little bit of a definition down there, and I think the key there is that these are the tools that you're in anyway, right? So let's find ways to kind of bring more of that chat operations in, or more of the operations into the tools that you're already using, right?
That's right. And so things that you would normally run commands on a workstation, basically you live in chat, which I don't know about you guys, but for me at Rackspace, I live in chat all day, every day anyway. So it'd be great if I could actually work down there. So it's the kind of thing where you sort of start a little at a time, but eventually get to the point where you're able to drive everything from maybe even development, testing, deployments, deploying things to a test server, deploying to production, getting feedback about how that's going, all in chat where everybody can see it. And something I do that's kind of interesting, I think even on top of ChatOps, is doing that with a customer in the chat room too. So everyone's on the same page about what's happening to the infrastructure.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. I'd love to hear how that's kind of working out. So you've mentioned before that you've worked with customers. You're in South America. Your customers are based in the U.S. and they have a development team in Europe. Tell us how you're able to kind of swing that all together.
Well, so I think that for a lot of developers, their time they're up at night. Like a lot of the customers we work with have developers that are in another place than they are potentially. So
yeah, that's a pretty common.
Yes, and if you're looking at chat, and even if you're not, you can go back, right? One thing people love about Slack is they can scroll back. So you already know as soon as those developers wake up in Prague, they scroll back and they say, all right, what happened? And I personally have put everything into Slack and into a chat room from things like config management converging to outages happening, monitoring, and then the next level would be actually taking remediations on those. So like my favorite thing is I love to be able to get up, look at Slack and say, okay, there was an outage, the monitoring system caught it, and then one of my colleagues ran a bunch of commands to destroy that instance in AWS and build a new one, or went and deployed to staging a change that they needed, right? Trying to roll forward the code because of some bug. So you get visibility, an audit log, it's in a timeline of your entire ops. So that's the kind of thing that we're doing with customers, and it's a huge, huge benefit over something that we used to do where they put in a ticket and they say, what happened yesterday, or you know, what are we doing tomorrow?
Well, a lot of times you're also running into situations where maybe it starts out as an email, then pivots into a ticket, then there's a phone call that may or may not get logged. And I mean, there are things that are happening within the organization, within the support company, and then back and forth that all could end up in various dark corners. Maybe there's a list that's involved, and then a conversation starts on that list, and then there's a direct reply that doesn't get integrated, and so you can easily find yourself in a place where you're having to do a lot of reconstruction of what happened, and that's all time spent, lots of sweat, tracking down, you know, is that person even available right now? Especially in these global enterprises and these global projects, something may have happened while you're asleep. There's an email thread that somehow went off list, and it's with people who aren't going to be able to respond to you quickly. Whereas consolidating all of that stuff into one place, you can go back much more quickly, much more easily, and much more thoroughly reconstruct what happened. And that is a huge value when you're looking at moving forward with something, or you're trying to hit some deadlines and you've got that round the clock process and you're still sleeping at some point in that clock cycle. It's a really huge deal to have everything in one place and not have to go back and comb through all the various avenues, some of which are logged, some of which are not, some of which you have access to, some of which you don't. When you can put everything in one place, that's huge. But then you add the layer of automation to make that easier, and that becomes even more compelling.
Yeah.
And,
go on.
Oh, I was going to say another thing too is that you think that's organic, and you get to that point and you set it up, and the cool thing that happens after that is you're not even reconstructing anymore. One thing that we've seen is that, you know, you can actually not reconstruct what happened with the person that's doing network security. You can invite them to the channel, right? And so not only are you not reconstructing, but you're not showing, you're not saying, come look over my shoulder, I'm going to fix it. You can actually bring people in real time and even let them drive your infrastructure if you have somebody who's a really amazing NetSec engineer. You know, you're not even reconstructing it for them anymore. Everyone is seeing what's happening as it's happening, and everyone can be involved. You can even do things like sort of the nuclear two key thing, right? You can say, this is really bad for our infrastructure. So two people, two to say, yes, let's run that command. So you can really take it to the next level.
Well, that's very cool. Well, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of some of the ways that you actually get into that right now. But I just want to take a second to welcome everybody that's watching live. This is Rackspace, the #1 managed cloud company. My name is Alan Bush, and I'm here with Martin Smith and Drew Cox, who are joining us remotely. We are talking about ChatOps. Like, what the heck is ChatOps? It's one of these things that I've heard a couple of times. I didn't know what it was. Martin does, so we brought him on to talk about it. We're talking with Martin, and we're answering any questions that you all might have. Drop a line, whether you're watching on Periscope or on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you, and we can go ahead and we can go ahead and talk about that and bring Martin's expertise in on this. We're just talking right now about the transparency that is afforded with, or not even afforded, but is brought into so much better light when you have that ability to for everybody to see what's going on. And you know, Drew mentioned a great point where we're talking about sometimes you have something starts as a ticket, and then there's a phone call, and then there's an email, and none of these are synchronized together, right? But when you are in a single communication interface, which is all logged, it all is put together. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't make that phone call right away or whatever. But I mean, it helps to put everything together, especially when you add that automation where you have a lot of the actual operational things that are happening being announced in that same chat room. And that to me is like that transparency is one of the things that's really helping out there.
And transparency as well, you can actually train new employees that way too. That's another thing is that I think is really cool is that something, again, taking the military activities and bringing them in, making them social is actually a really nice way, not only to tell people what happened, but you can even let somebody who's 2 or 3 days in on the job, and GitHub talks about this in their blog a lot, letting them actually go ahead and drive an infrastructure change, or, the security professionals. You might have somebody who's new and you say, okay, here, you block that port, like just tell the bot what to do. So you can really bring people in early and train them easily, I think, with ChatOps in a way that before you were sending them files and scripts and really giving them a bunch of documentation to pour over. I'm a learn by doing kind of guy, and so ChatOps works really well for that.
One of the things I think is interesting about that specific point is a lot of times when I've been training up for a new role or getting up to speed with a customer's situation, you'll say, I'd really love to be on any calls, loop me into any communications that are happening, and something happens after hours and you didn't talk to the person, so they didn't bring you in, and so you miss these opportunities to be involved and to get up to speed and to understand better what's happening. Just because of the situation. Maybe you're already on a call when something goes down, so you don't get brought in to see what that runbook looks like, what actions are taken, what the standards are. But when everything's in that one place, you always have that backlog to go back and see what happened and to be abreast of anything that goes on in the infrastructure as it's happening as well. So you get pulled into situations that you might be overlooked, or it's an all hands situation, and so everybody focuses on the problem, and you're the new guy going, can I help? What can I do here? You get to be right there on the pulse of what's happening, see all the steps that are being taken, the process, whose skills are brought to bear when, those kinds of things, and that can really press and streamline that onboarding process for maybe a new customer, maybe a new employee, maybe a new team member on a specific project. And I think that's a really useful component. I'm glad you brought it up, because I know in my onboarding experiences in the past, there have been so many missed opportunities just because of the situation and the tools that were being used. But once you start really consolidating into a single tool, and getting a large group of people, all with various skills in the same room, working on the same problem. In this case, it's a virtual room. That really does bring additional value. It turns the volume up on what you have access to and the depth of visibility that's there. So it's really, really exciting to have those sorts of tools right there at your fingertips.
I like that onboarding perspective.
You also mentioned, Drew, something that just made my mind go running, which is standards. You talked about standards, learning what the standards are. Guess what else ChatOps can do for you? It can make you not all run different commands. I mean, I've been on ops teams before 10 years ago where it was like, well, I saw the web server go down. How'd you fix it? Oh, I ran this command. Oh, and I fixed it. I ran this one. You talk about trying to standardize what a team is doing and have processes and procedures. Being able to use the same tool and interact with one tool as two people means that you're not running the same commands at the same time, and you're also not running different commands, both trying to solve the same problem. So it really has a lot of secondary level effects like that, standardization.
Yep.
Yeah, I love finding those additional ancillary values. So, I mean, the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about some of the ease of bringing a large group of people, maybe globally distributed, into one place to solve one problem in a more expedited fashion. That's a big enough value to be compelling up front. But then you start hearing, oh, and then you get this value. Oh, and then there's this other benefit. Those things that you don't think of up front, you may see the one value that's kind of touted and say, that's fine, but what we're doing works. And then you start hearing these other components getting piled up on top of. the kind of standard keystone value, and it starts to become more and more compelling. And so then you have more and more desire to do that research and to begin to integrate this new approach into your existing approach, which kind of brings us into what sorts of things are easy first steps to go from a standard operational structure to more of a ChatOps structure.
So I think I would just say there's a few popular projects out there to sort of build on top of. And so there's GitHub's Hubbot. I've heard it pronounced Qbot too, but I think GitHub, Hubbot.
Sounds
There's
right.
one for Ruby. There's Lita, which is a popular one for Ruby. And really, there's whatever tool you're going to write code in, I think is the tool to pick. I wouldn't go based on what necessarily is the most popular. Go with what you're actually going to develop tools for, because the more you can go all in on something like ChatOps, and I know we just talked about how can you get your feet wet. The more you can go all in, I think the more value you'll see out of it. So I would say just grab the one that you're familiar with running. There's even serverless ones, like we talked about on that serverless episode. There's some chatbots like that. So I would say pick a piece of software, and then maybe pick one or two things, just something, and deploy that functionality. Whether it's your monitoring telling you that something is broken, a lot of people already have that in chat, especially in Slack with integrations. But pick one thing and put it in there and make it fun. And we can talk about some of the pitfalls of things that you shouldn't put in there at some point too. But I would say it's better to just put your feet in there and get started with something.
It's always good to learn by doing. It's fun to read up on something and kind of pipe dream about it, but until you really get your hands dirty, it's going to be really hard to really start seeing the value, and the learning curve is completely different reading about something that's theoretical versus implementing something yourself. Action is almost always the best or the right call. Take some action and see what results you get. So I like that a lot.
Yep, absolutely. Well, hey, one thing real quick. I just want to welcome again everybody that's watching. This is Rackspace, the #1 managed cloud company. I'm Alan Bush. I'm here along with Drew Cox and Martin Short, who are Martin Short. No, Martin Smith. Oh wow, I wish Martin Short was here too with us. He's
Big show.
He's a great he's a great performer, but he's also a ChatOps expert. No, very few people know that. So it's a little factoid that you can learn only on this show right here. Let's try that again. I'm here with Martin Smith and with Drew Cox, who are talking to us about ChatOps and what is it and how can we use it. We've been talking a lot about how well ChatOps can work, but I don't want to completely sugarcoat it. I think there's some valid concerns that people have about that. So I just want to extend another option for anybody watching. If you have any questions about ChatOps or questions about some concerns that you might have, we'd love to hear those as well. But Martin, I think that you had a couple of examples of things that potentially could go wrong, and I think one question that we had pop up in a chat room was, a chat room ironically enough, was, hey, what happens if all of a sudden Slack goes offline or something like that? How do you have, what type of contingencies do you have?
That's a good question, and actually, I'll also put a plug out there. Tell us your stories for ChatOps gone wrong. That would be a fun thing to hear what people are seeing that's gone wrong for them. But I think Slack going offline, that's definitely a concern. I think that probably you have some contingencies for even just communication, because even if you're not running your infrastructure through, you probably, if you're using chat, you're using it to communicate with coworkers. So there's probably some contingencies there. But I think what you can sort of rely on is that you're going to find a couple things. One is that a lot of these tools, like GitHub's project.bot, actually plug into multiple. You can plug it into Slack. You can plug it into IRC. It's got connections for HipChat. So, worst case scenario, you can always plug it into another tool. But one other thing I think that is really important and bears repeating is that if you're going to go down this route, try not to hide a lot of complexity in the commands you're running. So what you don't want to do is say chatbot deploy the world. You want to map commands that maybe your API calls at AWS or at Rackspace to simple commands for the bot, so that you're not hiding any complexity, because you get into these situations where now all of the stuff that was out in the open is actually hiding in some script somewhere that the bot runs, right, that no one's ever seen. So you want to keep it as sort of bare metal, or map it as directly as possible to the APIs that you're interacting with. And then, you know what, if the bot goes offline, you know all the commands to run. You might have to use a slightly different tool like curl, or use one of the API clients that you've got. Like AWS has a shell. We have a CLI for Rackspace Cloud. You might have to use one of those, but there's no hidden complexity of you know, there's some big script that the bot ran that nobody knows about now, and chat's offline, so you can't figure out how to run it.
It's always good to have a backup plan. Yeah, exactly. Well, what?
And while we're talking about backup plans, I'm always going to pitch.
Oh, yep. Here we go.
Verifying and testing that your backup plan will work. If you have this imaginary backup plan, one that you've thought through but haven't executed, run a fire drill. Make sure that in case of emergency and you break that glass, there's something behind that glass you can actually use that functions the way you expect it to function, because the operations of your business is the most important thing, be that run through a ChatOps approach or through your backup plan when Slack's down or whatever. Make sure that what you think you're going to do in case of emergency works, so that in case of emergency, that plan keeps your business moving forward and the requirements that you have. It's frustrating when we go to help a customer and simple situation like their server goes down and they don't have a backup to restore from, or something along those lines. If there's no backup, or if the backup is there but there's a corrupted component within it, maybe your database has some issues, it doesn't matter that you have the backup. It's not a functional solution. So testing that on a regular basis gives you a lot more confidence that regardless of what comes up, you have a solution that is in place and that it works. It does what you expect it to do. So I'm going to probably bring that up in every show I do ever.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
But
it's a good
it's
point,
important.
Right?
It's important. Your business
thing,
is important. So ensure that the things that are there to ensure your business work the way you expect them to.
Exactly. Well, Martin, I guess the question there is, like, how do you think using ChatOps can help facilitate a fire drill like Drew suggested?
I mean, one thing you can do that I think I've definitely seen done, I think it's pretty common, you know what, put two bots in the chat room, right? Like, put two in there. If you're doing what we talked about earlier and not hiding any of the complexity and scripts that the bots run, put two bots there. Put a bot in another Slack instance. You know, if you're worried about Slack, put bots running in two availability zones or two data centers at Rackspace. You can do things that are very simple if you keep your. One of my major philosophies for operations is to hide the complexity and try to get rid of complexity wherever it's there. So just put up two bots. I mean, you know, this should be like a place where you can run a command and you can always have more than one of them. You know, we often at Rackspace, we always use Bastion servers to talk to customer service so that customers know Rackspace is connecting from where they're connecting, and it's very clear. You know, why not? We always have two of those. And so put up two bots. You know, it's no different than that. And also, I'll put a plugin for. I know that there's actually some videos GitHub has published on YouTube of them doing ChatOps, like sort of over the shoulder. Check out some of those. They've got some situations like that they've run through as a fire drill that they'll show you one of their fire drills. But I would say you could do is, if you're on Twitter a lot, you probably see this, but bots talking to bots, right? So you may have not just two bots for redundancy, but you may have one team in the company has a bot that knows how to do one thing, and another team, it comes into a room and tells the team that cares about, that's working on a customer, hey, we're having this network issue. So you can actually make this massively distributed where there's no single points of failure. I know we have lots of chat technologies at Rackspace, and we have bots that bring things from IRC to Slack and from Slack to this customer HipChat. And I mean, really, you shouldn't put on as far as ChatOps. There's no need to.
Very, very cool. I'm gonna have to check out those GitHub videos. That sounds fun. I'm sure Drew will appreciate the fire drill one.
For sure.
Great. Well, let's see here. Let's talk about some of the ways to get started with it. I mean, if you were just starting out, working with a customer just on their own, what would be like the top 2 or 3 things that you would start off with just to get ChatOps up and running in a company?
I think one thing you need to have, which is kind of the price of admission, is you need API-driven infrastructure. So if you are not using, if you don't have everything virtualized, if there's a server people actually have to go physically walk up to, like handling those, I mean, that's just sort of the price of admission of cloud and having API-driven infrastructure. So that's like number one. That's step zero. That I would cover first. And then if you have those things, I would start with something like maybe monitoring or something that you can have more than one pane of glass that you can look at it through, right? You can log into the monitoring server, you can see it happening in your chat room. Now, I will say don't necessarily go ahead and just have every monitor that ever alerts in Slack. No one will want to chat in that room anymore, right? Because it's just filled with walls of text. So have it be where you can query the state of a monitor. You can say, show me the state of the database, and then say, squelch speed monitor, stop alerting, something that makes life easy for people on call, and they can see what happened, their colleagues can see what happened the next day or later while that person that was on call is sleeping. I remember that before coming to Rackspace, I worked at a place where you always waited for the person that went through the outage or the issue to wake up the next day and tell everybody what happened. Like, make it something convenient, or make it even just replying to tickets in the ticketing system, something that's probably you're scripting anyway, scripted in chat. I would say those kinds of things would be good ways to dip your feet in it.
And to kind of take a sidebar on the monitoring component, the better job you do of setting up your monitoring, so maybe you've got your web service that if it's down, you're not going to be able to see anything else. So that monitor goes off. Who knows what else is wrong, but that's wrong. Or maybe that's still healthy, but there's something further in. Only that monitor goes off instead of this long chain of, okay, since Apache didn't do its job, I'm getting all of these other monitors. If you do a good job setting up your monitors so that you know exactly where to go for the issue and exactly what needs to be done to address that issue, that can really help keep that wall of text, really loud chat room a little bit more manageable, and it allows, if you can get it really tightened up, then a lot of times you can have an automated response to that problem because you know exactly where the issue is, and it's one of a very small number of things that's going to rectify that issue. So it's definitely important to have monitoring well thought out so that when it's incorporated into a room, it's not the only thing you're ever seeing, and it gets to a point where the noise is so great you don't ever catch the signal and it loses its value and you move back to some other thing, or you just kind of write off the ChatOps approach. So it's really important to not have such a chattery, noise-filled chat room if you can help it. It needs to be all valuable data. Just saying all of these alarms went off, or this thing just keeps having issues, that's going to get you frustrated, and you'll have to either find a quick solution to it, or you'll begin to find something else to do, and you lose the value.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The fatigue of monitoring notifications is real. The more notifications people get, the less they actually react to them. So, like one thing that I think I threw in there, but it bears repeating, is make it so that you can query the state of your monitoring system in the chat room. Don't just have it dump every alert in. Make it so that I can go, oh, my colleague Drew was awake, and I see he looked at the state of this monitor. Maybe there was something going on with that monitor. That's already like really useful context information you get in a physical office that you wouldn't necessarily get remotely. Is someone's looking at something. So like that actually, even that context is super useful, and it prevents just a wall of text if you're just dumping every possible monitor in there. So resist that temptation and resist, I think for Slack and some of these tools, there's integrations where you could literally with one click dump every message into chat from your GitHub repo or your monitoring system. Try to resist that and make it a pull mechanism so that people are not awash in information they don't want.
Right. You really have to go in and prioritize what you want pushed in versus what you want to be able to pull in if necessary. And so that's a important conversation to have up front, but is one that you'll find value in revisiting, because you may have an assumption of, this is really useful information and we really want to see it. And then once you get a sense of what it really looks like to see it all the time, you may say, how about we schedule that to happen every now and again? And if it meets these conditions, then we get it. But I don't really want to see it every time. It's not valuable. So have a good prioritization conversation up front, and then as you begin to settle into the ChatOps approach, you'll be able to see kind of what's overkill, what you do need that you're not getting, and do some additional massaging of your approach from there. But prioritization is really key to getting the most value out of the approach. It's key to a lot of things, but we'll use that in this context.
Well, one thing we've been talking about is different ways that we can prioritize and kind of understand what's important as far as the operation side of things, right, from the technology. But what about the people operations? How do you, what are some of the tips that you might have, Martin, about the people side of things, right? So how do we make sure that the people are talking about the things that are in the chat room? How do you make sure that there's not too much noise in the chat room itself, right? Like, we're not talking about like a 1990s AOL chat room or something like that, right? And we're talking about like this is your workplace, right?
Yes, exactly. I think one thing you can do is, and I would say this even aside from ChatOps, just in your company or in your organization where you have chat going on, make the room specific to the information that like people want that are in that room. So, that's one way to make it not one of those 90s AOL chat rooms where everybody and their brother is in the room at the same time saying hi. Like, make a chat room, just if you have a set of applications, make a room for each application.
Okay.
And make them public. I would say, like, I'm always an advocate. I love working on open source. I believe in the transparency that we have in Rackspace, and I think I would suggest make things as transparent as possible. Give people the things they need, but don't push them the things they need. Let them join the rooms that they care about, and let them leave the rooms that they don't,
right.
or let them join during an event. So if you can do that, I think you can get you can really get your hands around the people issues related to like just too much chat. And people are going to want to chat, right? Because they can do their work in chat now, and they can train other people at the same time and mentor people and discuss issues that they might not have even been discussing before. So I think like it's one of those things that builds on itself as you go. It sort of will solve itself as long as you can avoid that fatigue of information that comes with just dumping a wall of text into chat for people. I think those would be my pieces of advice. I would say also, eventually, once you get the monitor situation under control, we love DevOps. DevOps is a popular topic. Get your devs and your ops in the same, or at least have access to the same channels, because
Right.
You also start to see where a dev knows a problem has happened with an application, knows how to fix it, but doesn't have access, or can't even see, or can't just tell someone how to fix it. So if you can start doing deployments along with that monitoring, get their deployment steps into ChatOps, you can actually give devs the keys to deploy, and that's what happens at GitHub. So they're a great example of trying to implement some of these practices. But that would be another thing I would say to really get everybody involved is get deployments in your chat going to an automated.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, yeah, it's everybody likes a GIF, but you got to find the maybe have a random chat room or something like that for that. And I like the idea of setting up a single chat room for each individual application or service that you have. Because I mean, you want to be able to monitor that and only have the signal from that individual application, not everything as a whole.
What allows individual people to prioritize where their attention goes, because a lot of times you can be derailed by something that's not necessarily your requirements, priorities, or whatever. I know in an office that can take the form of somebody just walking up and saying, "Hey, I got a question," and engaging you in conversation. That can derail progress that's being made on your project, whatever that is you're working on. But in a ChatOps environment, having everybody in one room and only one space means that all of the actions and conversations are happening there, and that can be derailing to a project that's trying to focus on a specific component. So breaking it up in that way allows individuals, say a DBA, to just focus on the database components, and if he needs to, he can go into some of those other places that could be distracting, but he could be valuable in those moments, and then leave and go back to the things that are specifically important to him. Devs can be focused on, how is this new code I pushed going through these checks and gates? Is it all working the way I need to? And not worry about the monitoring alerts that are going off for production until he's ready to see his new code go out into the wild and do its thing, and he can sit in and verify, it went great, good job, back to my next project. That allows individuals to prioritize their work and be more efficient and not get as distracted and pulled in random directions because you've got it subdivided in that way. So while organizations need to prioritize, individuals are allowed to when you approach it that way.
Right. Good stuff.
Yeah. And I would also say, don't stop yourself at just take it one step further. Let the bots also do that. So, if I'm the DBA and I know there's a database outage, let me go tell the bot, hey, go tell the application teams that all that stuff they're seeing, we're aware of it, we're working on it. Bot joins their room, lets them know, and gets out, and all of their information related to their application is in one place. So that really helps them from having to go jump around to a bunch of channels and say, is it the network? It's never the network. Okay, is it the database? It's not the database. Is it the application? Is it the internet at large? Push information to them when they need it and then get out again, because they don't always want to know that those outages are happening if it doesn't affect their application. But let the bots hop in and tell them and then get back out.
I like that. Get in and get it out of the way. It's good stuff. All right. Well, hey, let's. I think we've covered just about everything that we wanted to cover today. What about more fun uses of ChatOps? Do you have any examples of that we might want to look at?
We have a great example of that at Rackspace, which is a thing that happens on Friday, and a few folks are involved. I don't by any means take credit for it happening, but there's a core group of people that get together and do some sort of fun Friday afternoon activity, usually involving chat. And so sometimes it's a trivia game, sometimes it's an interactive game, but we actually have more people in that chat room than probably almost any other in our Slack instance. And that means that people are engaged. If there's, we've got times where one particular group has wanted to tell the company about an event that's happening. They get in there and they say, hey, will you tell them before you do your Friday Slack attack, which is what it's called. And that's a really great way for a Friday afternoon for people to blow off some steam and then still be really engaged in what's happening at your company, as opposed to chatting with their friends. They might actually, we've even had people where a marketing group wants to tell people about an event, and they'll give away a mug, or they'll give something away to whoever wins the trivia that happened that day. So you can really boost engagement. Everyone's already in chat, right? So give them something fun to see, and again, let them opt out of it, just like we've talked about with everything else. What you don't want is somebody dealing with an issue and having to see that. So let people hop in and hop out, and it's a way to really boost engagement. Let them know about policies. It's the equivalent of going to the wall at the door of the entrance to your company and putting up a flyer. It's like do that with chat too.
It's a very good example. It's a very good example. I participated a little bit, and it is fun. I mean, it's a great way to learn about the new features of the application, and to I think it's almost going all the way back in our conversation. Playing Slack Attack, at least for us, would be a great way to introduce people to how to use Slack and how to, some of the different ways that you can use it, and ways to share images and share clips and share, URLs, and different ways to embed code blocks and things like that. I mean, you can share so many different ways on Slack, and I know that, HipChat and other places are very similar, right? And so you can share in so many different ways. It's almost a nice little training, like the very first. The very first stage of a game, right? So that's that tutorial stage of a game. So, yeah, it's good
Definitely.
stuff.
And I've even seen, I'll just say, I've even seen people where companies where the policy is to make even if you do a pull request, make a video of it, make it fun, right? And then that shows up in chat. You see, hey, I've got some code to merge, and then a video of me using the feature. Like, you could really have fun with it and make it really useful. That's so much better than having to go grab some code somebody wrote and go run it. You just watch the video of them using it.
It's fun. Drew, do you have something else to add?
Yeah, so as a company, we use Slack, and so there'll be groups that are using it for support, groups that are engineering teams that are using it to build a project, and then you've got groups that are outside of the technical. So you'll have maybe the social media marketing team has a group, and you've got people who are in the education RackU that have a group. And so there's all these little pockets of people who have like-minded interests and projects that they're working on that can help and share and collaborate. But naturally, people kind of find their people, and they work there. And so you gravitate to your subset of rooms. And one of the things that I've liked about Slack Attack and some of the other larger rooms is that it's a place for people to interface across segments and across departments. There's a lot of value in having people in various segments to work with and getting to know those people instead of being very insular. And so as an organization grows, having tools in place that encourage that culture of cross-organizational engagement can help customers actually get better end results, because individuals within the organization know people they can go to directly to get things done or to ask advice and deliver results for customers, be that in new features, new projects, or requests coming directly from customers. There can be a lot of value in that. It helps the culture stay broad and open, and it's something that we've seen value out of in these various rooms, be they focused on a specific team, organization, project, interest, or these broad kind of catch-alls that bring a large group of people from various interests into the same space, allows them to chat and get to know each other, and builds those relationships that then get used down the road.
That's a great point. That is a great point. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up on that note. Just want to really thank Drew for joining us from home in his home studio. You can take that in all of the different connotations of that word. Thank Martin for joining us after hours from Spain. Really appreciate it. Have some oranges. Drew says they're delicious. And I'm more of a naval guy myself. But yeah, so it's great having you, Martin. I always learn something new whenever you're on, and that's one of the main reasons that we have you on is to learn something new. You're an absolute great guest, and really appreciate you taking a little time with us.
It's always a pleasure. I organize meetups locally when I'm back at home where I live, and I really enjoy telling people about some of these things, finding out what people are doing. So don't forget, tweet at us, tell us stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us horror stories, success stories, why it's the worst idea ever, best idea ever. I love hearing this. So,
well, and you can also, if you do want to meet up with Martin, you're going to be at ChefConf, right?
I will in Austin, Texas, in July. I believe it's the week of the 11th. So yeah, if you want to talk about any of those things in person, definitely hit me up.
Yep. All right. Well, hit Martin up there or on Twitter or everywhere else, and Drew and I do this show every week live at about 1 o'clock Central Time. So come back and check us out next week and the week after that and the week after that. You can also catch a whole bunch of episodes that are archived on a podcast version, audio only. So you can get that at ohpodcast.com. And I guess on that note, we'll say bye, everybody. Thanks, and we'll see you. Oh, hang on. What?
Before we go, we've talked a lot about ChatOps today. Rackspace is currently providing ChatOps in our FOSS offering. So if it's something that...
And FOSS stands for?
Fanatical AWS.
Yes.
So it's a Fanatical support layer on top of Amazon's cloud. And so if you want to work with us to get up to speed in ChatOps, if you are already incorporating it and you would like a support team that can join you there, and you're using Amazon or intend to, that's where we're currently offering ChatOps as a support channel. It's not ubiquitous through our entire portfolio, though we're working with it in FOSS. That may someday mean it expands from there, but it's a place where you can currently engage Rackspace in that way. So if that's something you're interested in, a support company that can do that does that, that's the offering right now. So look us up, and you may find Martin or one of the other Rackers here in one of your chat clients here before too long.
It's true, and really, even if you want to implement ChatOps, let us know, because we've worked with a lot of our customers, helping them implement some of these things, these API calls, these scripts, these things that can take that to the next level. So I'd love to help you do that.
We have a lot of experience in that realm, so feel free to ping us and see if we can't give you a hand.
Well, there you go. There you go. That is a note to end it on. So on that note, we'll say see you all next week. Bye, everybody.